Hello, welcome to You Haven't Blanked That. I'm Forrest.
And this is Jimmy.
Today we are going to talk about the book City of Thieves by David Benioff.
Benioff.
I actually heard about this book because of the game The Last of Us.
Okay, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah,
okay.
The tone of that game is actually from this book, and that's one of the things I usually, anything I'm kind of like into, I'll try to find out like what they were watching or listening to, or
they're like
what their influences is for it, and that's where I heard about this book.
I heard about this book from you telling me to read it.
So what were your thoughts?
My first initial thoughts were you and your brother have an affinity for Russian literature.
Not really. I just like this book. Okay. I like some. I'm not like Ben, where Ben gobble it all up.
Right.
I like some of it, but he likes a lot more of it.
What I love about Russian literature is that it's very grand. This book was weird. I read A Man in Moscow.
Okay.
And it had similar themes to this one. Both of them were post-war.
Well, that's during the war, though. They were...
Yeah. It has the same broken country, people taking advantage of either way. This story, I kind of want to know how much David actually made up.
I've read a lot of it was.
A lot of it was?
Yeah.
That's a bummer. So it starts off with him going to see his grandfather, and then he's always known that his grandfather was in a knife fight and killed 2 Germans. I like that whole beginning scene where he was asking questions was it cloudy that day? What was the weather like? What this was? And the grandfather's hey, you're a writer, just make it up. The story is a really quick, great look at World War II Russia. That was so trippy too, that the German parachuter, how he floats out in the beginning dead, but there's no bullet holes because he froze to death jumping out of the plane. And I'm like, holy shit, that's so weird. Having the police come in and take him away, and arrest the little boy too, which I thought was kind of bullshit. Leave running, make sure he doesn't get caught by the cops or whatever, or the army.
Well, he lets that girl.
Yeah, the girl slips, and he helps that girl, and the girl just takes off, doesn't even look back. I'm like, dude, what a bitch. I was kind of really pissed off about that whole scene.
Well, he's pissed off about it too, because later on he mentions she's probably...
Dude, he mentions it at least 10 times a day. He mentions it. When he met that guy, Kolya? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of my favorite characters in literature right now. He's such a cool, well-rounded guy. The fact that you don't find out till later on in the book that he is AWOL because he was just trying to get laid. He goes to one house to, fuck this one chick, and then she's dead. So he goes, oh, damn. So he doesn't even mourn. He just runs down the street to the other girl that he knows.
To the hooker.
He goes
to a hooker.
Yeah. It goes to that guy's wife.
Oh, that's right.
And he's knocking. He's like, "Hey,
and the answers."
Yeah, he goes, "Oh, the husband was there." He goes, "Oh, wrong door." And then he goes to the hooker.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't even have cash. There's 4 guys in the room. They're all waiting for their turn. And then so he has to wait. And then he has no money, so he just gives her a beef jerky and a piece of bread, and that's all he needed. I really like the story, and I really like how Lev is they show his cowardice over and over again in this story.
What I like is that you find out is that the grandma's the badass and not him.
Oh yeah.
Were you trying to guess as he was meeting women who the grandmother was?
Yeah, I was. And then I was it was funny too, because as I was reading, I was like, oh, this is How I Met Your Mother. Yeah, because at first I thought it was going to be the girl that ditched him, that he saved in the beginning.
I didn't think it was going to be her. I thought it was going to be Sophia.
Well, because I figured, I thought it was going to be Sophia too, which is
the one
Kolya's
girl that
friend.
he was kind of banging.
But then I even thought it maybe would have been one of the hookers, the farm girls.
The one that he kept talking about that he was like kind of
the chubby arms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, cool.
And even this time around, because I forgot like which one it was at the end. I don't know how I forgot.
You know what I liked about this book is that it just seemed very honest to how like two dudes put into a situation are going to talk to each other. Because the dialogue is great. They both think they're about to die. There's some great lines in this book too that like just really stand out. One of them envies how people can fall asleep so easily. How they sweep away the monsters and tuck them away in the trunk of the bed. Really good visual lines too. I like when like the two guys are meeting the general and he's talking about how he needs to make a cake for his daughter's wedding, but he needs eggs, so he sends the two guys for the egg mission. The daughter is skating on the ice.
Yeah.
And they're watching her, and then both of them are in love with her. And then when they walk away, they talk about how they're going to jerk off to her. Like, how they keep, like, fantasying.
Well, the one, because, like, he kept talking about, like, yeah, you don't know how to walk in jacket. Like, yeah. Like he's like, you've been jacking off this whole time. Just like.
It's such a good book. I like it. I like it a lot. And then, like, the cannibal scene.
There's a lot of things from that kind of reminded me of that game. That whole game is a zombie game in general.
I've only played a little bit. I haven't played the whole game.
So you didn't get to the giant zombies that when they grab your face, they grab your top of your mouth and the bottom of your mouth and they just pull?
No.
Well, it cuts out before it
you know
pulls?
what? No, I didn't.
Oh god, there's some fucked up shit in that game. I think that particular zombie or monster in that game is based off of that giant cannibal.
I even saw the clues, dude, like where they're looking for eggs and stuff, and the guy asked me if he has money to go upstairs with them. And then you're like, yeah, dude, like, why would you go into someone's apartment? And he goes, yeah, just come inside. And, no, you bring it outside. Like, it was just such a weird moment. Like, I was like, how could you not know?
Because they're young. They were trying to pull the young and stupid, and they're desperate. They're gonna die either way.
But I listened to a lot of true crime, true horror YouTube stories. But then what I also do is I type in certain key phrases in different languages just so I could get those stories. So I'll type in, true crime in Spanish, and then I'll get all those stories.
So what will you put in Spanish? True crime. What's the other descriptive word?
Real asesinato. Assassin's cult is universal for like everything. So like that'll pop up a lot of stuff too. But then I'll type in the keywords like Russia, just so I could get more Russian stories, or more Germany. Or in Russia, actually, about 6 years ago, this woman was straight up killing her neighbors. Same way. Lure them into the apartment, and then she would just like lock the doors, and she'll just throats, and then just hack them, and then her nephew would take the meat and just sell it for cheap. He would make ground beef is what he would sell. So you wouldn't know what was in it. And he would sell it to all the neighbors. And then she ended up getting caught for it. So many people were missing. First she was like stealing kids and people from the parks. And then people stopped showing up because they're terrified they're going to get caught. So she just started attacking her neighbors and selling the meat elsewhere. When I hear stories like this, I'm like, holy crap, it's scary because it still kind of happens because it happened like not that long ago.
Yeah, you said like 6 years ago.
And then like there's also a bunch of different stories about murderers killing other people in Russia.
Did you like how they describe the food? The ration bread and the glue?
Yeah, I like how they talk about how they just get any kind of meat that they have. The bread, like it's not even made from real ingredients. It's whatever doesn't poison you, that's what they're going to make the bread out of.
Sawdust.
Even now, like he could still remember exactly what that bread tastes like, but he may not remember certain people's voices, what they look like, but he'll always remember the taste of that bread. I felt so bad about the dying boy with the rooster. Like they finally like scour the city, they find like the one guy that they're afraid they're gonna get shot as they approach, and the grandpa is already dead, and it's just that little boy just starving and like trying to keep that chicken warm. They bring the chicken downstairs just to find out that it's not even a chicken, it's a rooster. And that poor boy, like, refusing to leave and just rather just stay with his grandpa and die in that chicken coop. It was like, I felt like there was like no way this is possible. But I mean, it's wartime. I'm sure it's happened. Like, so
yeah.
This is the point of the story where I was like, I want to know how much of this is based on true stories. This whole book is just a whole bummer, dude.
Yeah, it is a bit of a bummer.
Because the anti-tank dogs, that's super sad. A field full of like dogs with like little poles on them, and then they're just like walking the mines, seeing if they'll like step on a landmine to blow them up. And then that one dog is just walking with his intestines out and bleeding. I like how like they see it and they just decide to go to the dog. Kolya goes up to it with like a knife, and then he tells him he's a good boy, and then like pets, like makes sure he's laying down and slits his throat. I like that visual too, where the blood's pouring out, and then like the dog is just twitching, moving its paws like it's having a dream, and then it's dead. He looks at Lev and he goes, "Okay, well we lost 40 minutes," and then just move on. I was like, "Fuck, dude, this is a very brutal depiction of their life." I mean, just everything's so bleak. And then they see the Russian soldier out in the distance, and they're like, "Hey, like, you know, don't shoot us." And they walk up to him, and they find out that the Germans already killed him. Standing like a scarecrow, just frozen to the land. It's just a really sad world that they live in.
When you play that game, I think they capture the tone of this book really well.
Okay, is that like a cold land to?
No, they're traveling. And rather than being snow, it's plants, and all these plants and spores are growing all over everything.
Yeah, because I've seen some of the zombies. I think watching you play.
Some of the zombies,
the fungus.
One of them has it all over their face, and if they grab you, they just tear you to shreds. They don't even really like eat you. You just get torn to shreds because it makes them crazy.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
They're susceptible to sound and stuff.
Some of them, one of them was that they're susceptible to sound and they can get you. So you have to like crouch and walk really slow. And if you make any sound, they'll know exactly where you're at.
Just like this book too. Yeah, you have to sneak around. One of the scenes in this book reminded me of a Quentin Tarantino part. The next part of the story is like they walk up to the farmhouse. They don't want to go into the house because they're worried about it. Because they're thinking like, that house is the only thing standing up and intact out of everything else is demolished. So obviously it's a German headquarters, or like, you know, there's Germans in there, whatever. You find out it's just like these 4 farm girls
that are just cum dumpsters essentially.
Yeah, they're just raped. Anytime there's a bunch of just like good looking girls in one room, and especially this because it's a very kind of badass kind of story, it felt very Tarantino-ish. What's that movie with the 4 girls?
Death Proof.
And then it gets to the point where like they're like, oh, blah blah. Well, like, how come you don't run away? And they're like, no, it happened to this one girl. And then they do that whole flashback of like that one girl, how she cried and the Germans just loved her, and then like they would always like go to her first before everybody else. She snapped, and then she tried to run away, and they caught her by the dogs and they brought her back. And to teach her a lesson, he got like one who thought he helped her and just sawed off her feet, and she thought that was it. I'm like, holy crap, because it reminded me of grindhouse type of like movie. You mean
just that kind of, but they were that brutal. I mean, that's how brutal.
That's the part that reminded me of the whole thing. But even then, I still had no idea who the grandmother was going to be at this story.
Yeah.
After I was done like getting to the whole book and I got to the very end, who the hell is he with? You know what I mean? Because he kisses Sophia, but then he goes, "Oh no, I can't because like, you know, you remind me so much of like of our friend, yeah, so like we can't hook up." But I was pissed after the chess game, which was super intense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like he loses that finger. The badass Russian chick is like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you know, like, I'll just give me your last name because that's all I need to find you is your last name. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I thought that was a pretty cool scene, but like, I knew they weren't going to ever be together. It leads up to such a shitty part of the story where it was like, I knew it wasn't going to be a happy ending. And first, I was super glad that Kolya ended up taking his shit finally. They're walking up. And then, like, he gets shot. And then, like, he said he got shot in the butt. So I was like, okay, cool. It's not that big of a deal. But obviously, it was a more intense shot. He ends up dying. Yeah. Not even 10 minutes later. Reassuring him that don't worry about it. It's not that much. It looks like a lot of blood, but it's not that, you know, whatever. And then he jokes, he goes, oh, shit, maybe it's a pint of blood. Like, I have no idea. Like, he ends up dying in his arms. The Russian captain of the guard, it was all bitchy with him until he saw that letter from the general saying that they're on a mission. After that, he's kind of like head down, just focusing because tied to the general, he just wanted to piss off the general for killing one of his guys. So
yeah.
After all of that bullshit, he finally delivers like the eggs. They already had 3 dozen eggs. I'm like, dude, like all that for like not? Like that was so fucking dumb. Like you sent them on a bullshit mission because what? He figured they'd die?
And one of them does.
Yeah, it was just so dumb. But, like, I did, like, he's talking about jerking off as he was walking. And then, like, he talks about his book, The Courtyard Hounds. I like it. Like, There's a man doesn't leave his house. There's a dog, and then he feeds the dog. The dog dying at the gates. He's like torn because he doesn't know what to do. So he finally gets out and like goes out, and he picks up the dog and he's gonna bury the dog. And I'm like, oh, that's such a cool thing. He chose the name Courtyard Hound and not the Courtyard Dog because a hound hunts. And then I was like, it's such a beautiful little metaphor for the actual story that's going on. I was super emotional when I read it. I'm like, damn, especially when he died. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, because he dies like 10 pages after that. Mm-hmm. And then he talked about it before he got about it while they're walking, and then he got shot.
It happens literally right before they shoot.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, they're shooting above their heads, the warning shots. He goes, no, they're just bad shots. To find out, this was for naught. And it was just like, this is a dumb book. And I got mad. At the point, I thought it was a very true story. Then it quickly does that jump, from him turning over the eggs, then to him getting his rations, and then being a writer and his all this other stuff, and then 3 years later, there's a knock on his door.
It's Mika.
And then he's talking about she doesn't make eggs, so she doesn't cook. I thought it was a really good story. I really, really liked it. The humor is funny.
The humor's great. Yeah. And I think they capture a lot of the Russian stories, the Russian novels. He captures that very well.
Yeah.
He essentially made one of those. There is something that's so insignificant that has to be done for this big event to not happen to the main character. It's not like you can just fucking, I'll be right back. I can get those for you.
Yeah.
It's a journey for a dozen eggs.
A dozen eggs. The stupidest thing. But it made perfect sense because there's no chickens at that time. It's a very brutal winter, and then everyone's barely surviving. Obviously, they're cannibalizing each other, and then even then, and the army didn't give a shit. This is Russia. There's cannibals everywhere. Finally found out they're friends with the general. They went to go arrest them, but they were gone. Good book. It reminded me a lot of what's that book? The Man
of Moscow.
Of Moscow, because it's the same kind of bleak story. In The Man of Moscow, it's kind of different because it's more he's stuck in this hotel and he can't leave, and it's but he sees what war has done to his land. But in this one, you actually walk through the ruins of the city, and then that opening quote in this stupid book, which I thought was super dope.
You've never been so hungry.
No, okay.
And
if the city falls but a single man escapes, he will carry the city within himself. On the road of exile, he will be the city. And then that other quote, too, where Alas Shank thought he understood and began laughing louder. Then suddenly he asked in a serious tone, do you think that the Russians are homosexuals? You'll find out at the end of the war, I replied. Boom.
Did you read up on the author and other things he's worked on?
No, I know he is...
I think I told you... The Wolverine movie, the Wolverine Origins movie that nobody likes.
Yeah.
He wrote it.
I'm okay with that movie.
I'm okay with it too. When he wrote this book, he was working on a series for HBO, and he was wondering if it would ever get made. Do you know what show he works on?
The Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're wondering, he goes, we'll see if it ever gets made, and it's the biggest fucking show.
No shit.
When this ends, he's doing a Star Wars thing for Disney. He's working on a Star Wars show for Disney on that Disney Plus.
Oh, okay.
Or a movie. I'm not sure if it's a movie or a series.
I'd be so cool to see a Star Wars story like this book.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much rapey, but it's still good.
They keep talking about wanting to do an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, but the idea they have was make it like a Lone Wolf and Cub of him trying to bring Luke Skywalker.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
And Maru Lars. Yeah,
that would be so cool. But yeah, he wrote The 25th Hour. I have no idea what that is.
It was made into a movie. I think it's a Spike Lee movie.
The 25th Hour?
These are people in that movie. I think Ed Norton's in it, and I think Rosario Dawson's in it.
I love her so much. I think he did another book called When the Nine Rolls Over.
Oh, those are short stories. Yeah, I haven't read that one yet. I want to read his other stuff. So I like his writing.
I like his writing too. It's really simple. He has a great way of just kind of explaining to you the surroundings without going into detail, without dragging it down. It's a super light read.
But it's a light read, but it's such a heavy.
It's a heavy
material. Was there anything you didn't like?
No, not really. I liked. It's a really compact, really well edited story. There's like very, very there's nothing wrong with this book. I mean, it's a great book.
Yeah.
It's a really great book.
Like I said, I listened to books because I don't have time to sit and read them. So this was done by Ron Perlman. You said you listened to the end of the book because you were kind of pressed for time.
I was pressed for time for reading because I was reading other books. I read like maybe 2/3 of the book last night, and then I left the book at home, so I couldn't read it at lunch. I ended up downloading the Audible for it.
Are you gonna go back and listen to the beginning of the book again?
Kind of. I kind of liked it. I had it.
You read it at 3 times the pace because he was reading way too slow.
Yeah, he reads way too slow.
But I think it's because of how short the book is.
Yeah, and I think so too, because like when you do like 3 times the average speed, if you don't have those pauses in between like lines, it gets blurred and you have trouble reading, like hearing it. But the way he was reading it, it made it so much easier to do 3 or 3.5 times the speed is like the fastest.
Yeah.
You could still hear the words as fast as they're going. But 3.5 is too far.
I like a good slow read, like a good normal paced read.
Because
Potter ones, the Potter ones would be insane to do at 3 times the speed.
Well, the thing is just like, it's too slow. Because the thing is like, I could read faster than he's saying the words. So it's really just kind of like dragging me down. And especially at 1 times the speed, it's just like, oh my god, dude. Like, but Ron Hellboy did a great job. I liked it. The voices that he did, I kind of want to listen to the whole thing now. Like, have it like in the background, have it play to listen. I came home afterwards and I read the last bit of it. Overall, really beautiful book. We should have drank vodka as damn it.
All right, everybody. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Next week, we are going to talk about the documentary about the Clash called Westway to the World. This is my favorite band ever. Jimmy is aware of that. I know Jimmy likes the Clash as well.
I do like the Clash.
Jimmy, what do you think? I'm not even sure what to ask you. What do you think this documentary? I mean, obviously it's going to be about the Clash.
Right, so I'm actually kind of stoked because I haven't seen any documentary or any interviews with the Clash at all. So.
Outside of Joe. I mean, you've seen a lot of Joe stuff.
Yeah,
right?
So this is going to be like the first time, like, the whole band's in it, right? Or is it?
Yeah, they're all in it.
Okay, cool. And then I'm assuming we're going to get like never before seen, well, obviously for me.
For
parts.
you, I mean, I that's my band, so I've deep dived on the Clash multiple times.
Yeah. No, like I'm stoked. Like let's see this documentary.